Welcome to Quick Strolls, shorter walks with the guests from A Life More Wild. We talk to a lot of people on A Life More Wild who've done, and continue to do, incredible things in nature. But what brings all of them together is their insistence that it's not the scale of the challenge that drives them. They just love being outside. Time and again, guests would tell us that getting outdoors doesn't have to be epic or intense. It can be whatever you need it to be. Hiker, kayaker and constant adventurer Sean Lewis summed up the idea perfectly.
This idea that adventure has to be this kind of macho, extreme adventurer world where it's not a real adventure unless you've really suffered and you come back from around the world cycle trip covered in mosquito bites and you've had to wee on mountainsides. I think that's great if that's what you're into, and I think that can be so fun as well, but that's not for everyone. And I think especially with kind of outdoor advertising, that extreme kind of gnarly side is still what some people think adventure is, and I actually don't think that at all, because most of us aren't like that. Most of us have 9-to-5 jobs and kids and families and social lives, and I think you can still fit adventures around that. And adventures can be whatever you want to define them as, and they can be gentle and they can be enjoyable. They don't have to be these kind of sufferfests unless that's what you like. And I think you can fit a lot into a couple of hours, into an evening, into a Saturday morning. And I really love the idea of making big adventures fit into little time, where you don't have to take a lot of time off work, and you still get that real lovely buzz of being outside and being adventurous, but you can still have your day-to-day life. And I don't think there's anything less valuable about that as opposed to quitting your job and going on a 6-month expedition at all. Actually, I think the nice balance in life is to have a balance of adventure and the daily grind essentially.
Alistair Humphreys went from intrepid expeditions around the world to exploring every square on the map around his home.
I think most good adventures begin with a map. You get a map out and you look at it and you start daydreaming of travels, and that applies whether it's looking at a globe or a map of your country, or just the Ordnance Survey map if you're going to go hiking in the hills somewhere. So I really like maps, and so that was I suppose a part of it. But there was also this feeling that I've spent literally years in other countries cycling thousands of miles across landscapes, and yet when I drive to the shops there's a little bit of woodland that I see that I'd never been into, or when I get the commuter train into the city you go past some sort of hill or neglected bit of land that I'd never been to before. So how could I think of myself as a so-called explorer if I didn't even know what was in my neighbourhood? So I was kind of curious about that. So the map's divided up into 1 kilometre grid squares, and I had the idea that if I went out once a week, that's not too much of a commitment. To explore 1 grid square, that's not too much of a hassle, and to do it every single week for a year, then over the course of the year I'd see quite a lot of where I lived, and also I'd see it through all the rolling seasons and changes of the year, and that might help me pay a bit more attention to the universe rather than me just sitting at home sending emails all day.
Writer and speaker Sarah Wilson, who always fits in a hike wherever her travels for work take her, stresses the importance of simply getting going.
And hiking is so much about that, one foot in front of the other, right from, planning out the hike. Is you get there, you see what happens, you look at, there'll always be a hike to do wherever you are in the world, and if you take the attitude that it doesn't really matter how perfect it is, it'll unfurl as it needs to. And the thing about hiking is you just start and you start walking, and the magic does its job on you. So you just start walking, even if it's 20 minutes. And, I've looked into the studies on this. There's been 40 to 45,000 studies that have been done on the benefits of walking in nature, hiking. Mostly done out of Japan and South Korea, where they take this stuff really seriously, and hiking is part of their health policies. But yeah, mostly it's just being out there in nature, seeing the patternings, putting one foot in front of the other. Hi. Good morning. It naturally just does its job on your physiology, on your mental health, on the connections that go on in your brain, the prefrontal cortex, and it's actually a real relief to know you don't have to do much more than that other than just start walking.